Oh my goodness, everybody. Welcome to the Real Estate Lab podcast. It's Friday. We're going to skip introductions today because we have so much content that we need to share. If you want to reach any of us, we have our names down below, and you can find us on all of the different social media channels. So what we're focusing on today is what is the biggest appreciation in the Austin area. So JJ has a heat map ready for us. JJ, do you want to pull up the heat map and start targeting some areas?
Yeah, let's do it.
Got it.
All right. So this information is from TNT Title, and it's basically appreciation of February from last year to this year, 2021 to 2022. And what I'm noticing is the highest percentage points, roughly. There's some.
Can we zoom in on that, JJ? I can't.
Tiny. I'll even go where I would like to start. On the west side, I'm noticing the darker blue is the higher appreciation. This is a little central, but you see 33% on the west side tends to take the cake. You see that on the map?
Randy, why do you think that is?
So I'm just trying to make sure I'm looking at the right space too. Dripping
Springs.
I think Dripping Springs is really popular for a lot of reasons. There's a lot of new builds going on out there. There's a lot of activity, and so there's just more opportunity for contracts to be had, in my opinion. And then also just having some pretty great access to the lake. I think mostly my focus though for Dripping Springs is that it just had a lot of room to grow in the first place. It was such a tiny town, for the past 10 years, but in the last 5 years has gotten a serious amount of attention of really expanding out and putting in some new communities.
And the one, to play devil's advocate, the one pushback I get from people who are maybe selling their homes in Austin and want to relocate somewhere that's cool. They feel like the infrastructure there, like the shopping, and it just isn't quite developed yet. You have Bee Cave, which is like 23 minutes away. And so that's a good option. And things are coming, but there's still little dirt roads with tractors that you can get stuck behind. It's not fully developed quite yet.
So what's the zip code that we're focusing on? 78620?
78620. And Liberty, I'm glad you brought that up, because when I look at the map, I see these 30%. By the way, there's a south region that blows the 30% out of the water that we'll get to, but it's going to be that. It's going to be some dirt roads. It's these fringes, right? That I think for whatever reason there's more appreciation. I mean, maybe Central has had its rise. So when it comes to relative appreciation, there's a little ring around, like a concentric circle almost.
So I'm pulling this up so that we can look at the actual data that showcases that heat map or validates that heat map. So 78620. For all of these, we're putting in just residential single family homes and then the zip code, okay? And so when I generate this list, what it shows is historic. So this on the far left is 2012, far right is 2022. So you can see that price rise. Now let's look at those actual numbers. So this is still that Dripping Springs. 2019, January, 45. Today,
it's crazy.
And there's nothing, like I looked this morning, and there are no homes for sale under 500,000 in Dripping Springs.
Yeah. I helped a buyer actually buy in Dripping Springs in 2019. And it was a new construction for Meritage. I actually can share the community. And so we purchased at 279. It's these homes right here. There's really nothing special about it, honestly. But then we sold it 2 years later for 505. So, and how many I did it again for the neighbor's house down the street. And then another one's gonna come up for sale too. So it's just kind of crazy that they doubled their money in 2 years.
How much did you purchase them for?
We purchased it was 279.
Did you see John's comment?
Yeah, what's crazy is we're gonna mention areas, but 30% is already a lot. 20% is already a lot. Cedar Park might actually not make the list, but it's all pretty hot, relatively speaking.
This is a great example, John. And just because we have people listening to the podcast, I'm going to read John's comment. Hello, everyone. Cedar Park has exploded year over year. Our neighbor bought their house October 2020 for $575,000 and just sold for $925,000. Embarrassed smiley emoji. Just so you know.
Speaking of north, we're going in a ascending order regionally. If we go north, you see Cedar Park is 22.19%, which is hot for 1 year of home ownership.
1 year.
1 year, y'all, of a house. So we're going to move over to the top spot up north, 33.26%. What y'all know about this zip code in this town here?
That's
remember all those people sleeping on Jarrell?
Yeah. What I do know is whenever I send out a help distress signal, I have buyers, under 400 who can help. People were sending me to Jarrell, and I feel like that's going to quickly disappear. So,
well, let's see. So right now, those prices it started at, oh my gosh, 140,000.
Yeah, nobody was talking about Jarrell back.
Nobody was talking about Jarrell.
No offense, Jarrell. We love you.
And so
nobody was talking about it.
Let's look. So from 2019, 177,000 to about 330. 330.
And that's the thing about the percentage points. It's so affordable. There's a lot more room for these things to take off. That's the way I would
agree with that. Yeah, just more room for growth.
Mm-hmm.
That is true. And you're also thinking about places that are a little bit more rural. So there's a lot of room for that appreciation for raw land with like maybe a mobile home. That could double or triple. That's the values in the land at this point too.
Mm-hmm. Dennis R.D. says, House of the Mouse. I don't know what he means.
What is that?
We're going to pretend like he doesn't know what he's talking about.
What's House of the Mouse?
If you don't know, man, never mind. What's next? What's next?
Let's see. Let's move it around. This is a little hard to steer because they're telling me Dinosaur D's telling me to zoom in. So this is also on TexasNationalTitle.com/MLS statistics heat map. I'm going fast and I'm honing in. There's so many different towns in the area. Mm-hmm. So let us move.
We're good. We still have 20 minutes, man.
What do y'all see? I see 30% here.
Just right of there. You know what that is.
This 32.3 one looks very enticing. How about this central one?
Okay.
That's significant for central.
78759.
That's going to be right by the Apple campus.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Let's get some zoom in action going.
My sister lives in that exact block, and she's just reaping those benefits. It's pretty great. Those are homes built in like the 1980s. Actually, they're split up. There's a big section of like 1980s homes that are well maintained and taken care of, but then directly north of that is actually some pretty recent construction as well. So you kind of get a nice option of the two.
So I see the domain here.
Yep.
Right, a little east of it, and then
Great Hills just west of it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a solid area. So here are our prices: 400,000 in 2012 to what? What are we? 900. So let's look at the actual numbers. So 2019, 500,000 or 450,000, 460 to 890.
I love this area. It's a sweet spot. I think
other people do too, JJ.
I know it's apparent that people do.
It's like not urban. It's like suburban, close to the domain. Not a little. I like a little urban.
There's a little bit for everybody over there.
Yeah, the schools, the hill country.
The hill country, yeah. And the school districts are all pretty well rated. The domain, of course, is going to become the second downtown. They just okayed that $3 billion, upgrade to it as well. So
the soccer stadium.
Repping,
absolutely. Repping it.
Oh, that's why you're wearing it.
Yeah, why do you think I was wearing it? I gotta go to some games, man.
I'm the soccer culture in Austin.
Yeah.
Love that.
It's new. And I just want to point out that these are all median prices, closed prices that we're looking at. Like, so this is the median closed price in 2022. for this area, 887,000.
Wow, that's pretty nuts. Because
Not
there's a
from
really
this
big
side.
blend there of just like small 1,500 square foot homes, but then also the Great Hills has some pretty magnificent, like 3,000 plus square foot spots too. So that's really nuts that the middle is 887,000. That does not sound right.
We've got a couple comments that we have to go through. You want to read these, Liberty?
Dinosaur D pops up and says, JJ needs to watch Jeremy's stream for more info on the House of the Mouse.
Hey, that stream's on my channel too. It's the Real Migos podcast, but that's for another day.
This inside joke, is it a Jarrell thing?
Yeah.
New builds in 78759.
No, you'd have to go all the way up to like Anderson, Mill, and Palmer, but even those are not brand new. 45 up by the 45 boundary, but I think those were all like 2019, 2020.
I've seen a few, like a handful, like 3, where they've
custom
gotten
builders.
rid of the house that was there and rebuilt another
That's what I
house.
was
But
gonna
they
say.
still have to conform to whatever the HOA
Yeah.
Yes.
requires.
Yeah, I got referred to these sellers because unfortunately, very sadly, the house got burnt down, but nobody was hurt. But a new construction was later being built on that lot.
Okay.
It's pretty much one of those. I don't know about. There might be these pocket, and the thing too about dense living, when you have a pocket of new builds, it's a very unique lot, and you're gonna get very unique 3-story weird structures. Sean S has a question.
But we got to look at those deed restrictions, because I know a neighborhood in Cherrywood where you cannot have a 2-story home.
Mm-hmm.
In those
Yeah.
lots.
Do you want to read this, Liberty?
Yeah, John S says, why do you think so many people talk about the lack of affordable housing in Austin, but the housing market in the most expensive places continue to rise and rise? Is it because of our high property tax?
Brandy, what do you think about that?
I'm trying to make sure I understand the question. There was a pretty interesting like Austin forecast report that came out, and somebody was talking about how the median income right now can buy you a $350,000 home. The median Austin income can buy you a $350,000 home, but the median home price in Austin is $550,000. So that's a huge affordability issue. High property taxes, I mean, certainly that's like yet to come as well. We're gonna all have a nice big shock coming up in the next month or so of what that means for us.
JJ, what are your thoughts? I like this question.
Follow the money. I always think. I mean, you can't juice up a housing price unless the people can pay for it. And I have this crazy theory that tech companies are the most powerful entities in the universe. No, I'm just kidding. In the world, like as business and data collection, and just we're all connected to Google and our Samsungs and Apples and Facebooks. So there's a lot
Thoughts,
of
Liberty?
profitability there.
Sounds a little bit conspiracy theory there. Maybe I think if
Oh,
I
yeah,
hear
for
you,
sure.
right?
I
But
think
you know
we
what?
should
Weird
consider
things have
a
happened.
conspiracy theory, for sure.
I
Yes.
think
Oh, go on, Ian.
I was going to say, I think that for me, it's because you still have jobs that are paying a lot and people have this desire to relocate. When you're talking about affordability, you're generally, and listen, I'm not backing this up with any actual data. This is what I'm seeing in the market based on the people that I'm talking to and all of the other agents that I have conversations with. It seems like the affordability is in reference to people that have been here or are trying to buy their first home, not people that are coming from other places.
That's a good point.
We still have that surplus of people coming from other places.
That it's all about yes, that's true. Perspective, and affordable to one person is unaffordable to another. And then we're seeing those investors come in. I mean, they see these appreciation values rise so quickly and they want a piece of it, and I don't blame them.
There was, I remember when COVID was happening, this was in the middle of COVID, and then we had a lot of investor attention happening during that same year. And so people started asking investors like, why do you have so much attention on us? What's going on? I want to know what you guys are thinking. And they said, we just really see similar patterns between this and Silicon Valley, 15 years ago. And so we want to make sure to get in early. So, is that going to pan out or play true? Like, only time will tell, but it certainly is starting off in that way. So
depends if Elon Musk actually becomes a trillionaire by 2024.
Here we go. Dinosaur D. High-tech jobs bring with them high-tech pay. Everything in the blast radius goes up. Speaking of which, let's move to the Northeast area.
So we do have high-tech jobs, but the other thing about this is we're still the #1 oil-producing state in the United States. The problem is people that were in oil, many of them moved out to Houston or to Dallas, right? Austin has a heavy concentration, or did, but they were moving out to save money on their properties and to get closer to these oil fields, cheaper homes and such. You want to read Aaron's? Somebody want to read Aaron's comment? Ready.
Unpopular opinion, if you're scared of taxes, you probably can't afford the house.
Okay, who has a comment? Who wants to rebuttal that?
Well, I do feel bad for owners that maybe didn't realize that this day would come and they would shoot up in value 60% in 2 years. People buying in now, I certainly make sure to have that be a part of my consultation of, you need to be aware that this number changes and it's changing rapidly. But for the original owners that have been here 15, 20, 30 years, I do feel for them. But there's also lots of, exemptions in place to help out with that, of course.
What were you going to say, Liberty?
I was perusing around on the MLS on the listings this morning, and I saw a Buda listing that I hope this was a typo, Ian, but it said 4% tax rate. It must have been a typo. I'm going to try to find it. I'll show you guys. I'll let you know.
Okay, so I want to read this one. So Aaron says people are blaming investors, but the amount of investors hasn't gone up much, if I recall correctly. So I did another video. There was another video where we were talking about what percentage of people pay cash. And so from 5 years ago, it was about 18%, and today it's about 22%. Here's the thing. We're assuming that the people paying cash are investors. And I don't know that that's true. I think that people that get gift infusions from their family, or they might have another house and are relocating and using the equity from that house, maybe a bridge loan or something. So I think we have to explore that number a little more in depth, but I don't think
a gray area. Actually, I would argue, because when you buy a house, it's an investment, and if people are backing that it's almost like an investor mentality, even if you are purchasing.
Yeah, but you can't go to a builder and buy a house as an investor. And so what's the criteria?
I mean, as an investor, yes.
Right. But what's the criteria? The criteria is, what's the criteria?
Owner occupancy versus not.
That's it.
Right. All right. Let's make our way over here.
Only because this is still on topic. Someone read it.
That's why I think it's an area.
Is there a way to discern how many investors there are in the market? I've actually tried to dive into that before, and you just have to wait for everything to get updated so that you can take a look at who the buyer was. Honestly, I was unsuccessful in it. Have any of you guys ever been able to do that on MLS?
No, I mean, I think it's just kind of what Ian was saying. I assume sometimes when it's cash or when they have notes in there that was I assume, but it could be, could be anyone.
Because I was trying to figure out who I was competing against in a particular neighborhood for several months, and would see how many buyers ended up being company names and such. But it's too hard to wait for that data.
So company names, that's one way, right? Cash, we can make some kind of statistical assumption that if people are paying cash, maybe it's 50%. I don't know that, right? And then also in the MLS, and not everybody knows this, but in the MLS, or not every consumer knows this, in our MLS, we put what's the financing information for the house. So we might say investor purchase, right? Or if we see the house purchased and then sold within, let's say, 3 months, and all of a sudden it sold for 100,000 or 200,000 more. In most cases, that was an investor purchase too. It's challenging to get through the actual data.
To be able to look at it all would be hard.
Dinosaur D says, Aaron is a dodgy investor, but on paper, he's an owner-occupier. I want to know what dodgy means. That's my question. Someone read Frederick's.
I have an investment property in Round Rock in Siena. Thankful rents have gone up because the first year I saw major property tax increase that killed my profit.
I mean, yeah, that's going to be the story certainly for people like Frederick who are owning those investment properties. And then also like my huge warning out there to renters of like your rents are about to go up beyond what you would have ever expected, because the investors need to make sure that they're hitting their bottom lines, and it's not their fault. This is just what's going on with property taxes and everything. So needing to fight inflation by having your mortgage payment versus a rental payment is a good idea for.
That's a big reason why Austin is still growing like it is, I think, right? This whole inflation plus opportunity plus, where you want to be in the world. It's a good mix of everything. Mm-hmm. Jenny, you want to read this from Aaron?
Aaron, taxes can only go up 10% a year, which for a $300,000 house is $8,000. So that's $800 a month, $67 a month. If you are so close to the line that 67 breaks you, you can't afford it. Aaron and the affordability.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Some tough words to listen to, but
listen, 67 a month, that is all your streaming services done. Right? Taxes go up, cancel your streaming services. If it's that close, what he's saying is if it's that close or that tight, then maybe you couldn't afford the house. But I also argue that if you need a house and you're currently paying rent and you want a house, and you want to build for your future, you might have to struggle and cut off those streaming services for a couple of years in order to build your first bit of nest egg.
Yeah, because renting is not safe for sure.
Because prices, and we can do that in another episode. We'll look at the rental prices per area using a heat map. All right, JJ, you're back up. What do we have?
All right, moving on east, we are still in the 30%. You could see northeast here. Again, I'm going to try to zoom in. You'll see these 30s. You see this town? Can anyone read that?
Yep. Taylor, 32.
Taylor. And then if we go a little south, there's also 39.13%.
Give me that. What is that?
Bastrop.
Bastrop.
Why do you think Bastrop in the last 1 year has increased by almost 40%?
You know what? I don't know. I have not been visiting Bastrop enough.
They are building a ton out there. They are building a ton.
They did some incentives as well to encourage that too. I cannot specifically remember what I've read on that, but Bastrop did something to invite that. So
the city of Bastrop made a decision that they were going to allow growth, right, Randy?
Yes, it was an article that came out in the last year or so. So they're actively working on that. Bastrop is giving incentives for building and everything like that. So good for them. It's working.
Check this out. It used to be 2012, you could get something for 150, and now we're looking at 450
right there.
I know. Wait, where did the spike come in? Right here? What happened in January
2021
of 2021? I know. It's our background. How do I show our background?
You think it's Tesla?
I think it's Tesla.
I mean, there are definitely some factors, right? Because you could see Manor here at 30%. Let's not ignore Taylor and Samsung up north. Tesla's in between all this.
January 2019 was 250, and today it's 460.
Wow, Bastrop. But also, I mean, the same thing that I mentioned with Dripping Springs. I mean, it had a lot of room to grow. There was a lot of rural stuff. They had the fires that took down a lot of homes. And so they had a lot of catching up.
But the biggest spike happened around January of 2021. Here's my other assessment. I think that spike happened because people were looking around trying to get in places closer. And it goes back to affordability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're like, what can we afford in, let's say, a $350,000, $400,000 price range? And it's like, you willing to drive a little bit further?
That was actually a part of that report that I mentioned earlier when they said the income gives you a $350,000 house and the nearest place is Bastrop to be able to do that. So, yeah.
All right. Someone's got to read this and then someone else has to answer it.
So the question, an elephant in the room, is with interest rate rises, do you guys think this will stifle year-on-year capital gains?
Stifle capital gains. You mean slow down investors?
Slow down appreciation this year
Yeah, I
because
think appreciation
because interest rates are rising. Will appreciation be as? Yeah, I mean, this is a question that I get a lot because of the interest rates.
But capital gains don't actually happen until you're selling.
Putting it in another one.
Right? Or 1031. So until you're selling, capital gains don't even matter.
Well, Dinosaur D, did you mean appreciation?
I think
Yeah.
I mean
appreciation.
Yeah, appreciation. Absolutely. Now, I think you're wondering if it's appreciation. Will it go down or up? Because of course it's going to be affected. But I personally think that back to the employment, I just think the employment is very like you're going to have to get that interest rate because you're going to have to get that house and you're going to have to work at wherever you're going to work. So
what I think this year,
I'll be that.
I think that's a good point, JJ. I think that's a good point. And I think that with rising interest rates, we'll see some buyers fall out. If you're wanting to sell your home and you maybe have a resale concern, now would probably be the time to go ahead and get out of that home and get into the next home.
Mm-hmm.
But if we look historically in Austin, prices have not gone down. So I feel like we're just going to keep.
There's a very resilient Austin background with the real estate charts.
Yeah, the inventory is just too low. We had this perfect storm of very incredibly low inventory, and then combined with massive amounts of buyer demand because of those historically low interest rates. So having the interest rates rise is certainly going to help cool off that buyer demand, but that doesn't change this issue that we have of lack of inventory, both for resale, but also new construction not being able to build out as fast. There's just too much work to be done on the inventory supply side that I don't see appreciation stopping for several years.
I agree with that. As far as just referring to appreciation, even though the interest rates rises, people still year over year need to move, right? The difference is who's moving. Right? Like people inner city, for example, if they already have a house and they started riding this train, they're still going to want to move because they have this new appreciation and may have moved here on a whim because they thought it was nice. And they were like, well, I'm going to buy a house. And now they're looking at it thinking, I don't know if I like this area as much as I like that area. I've got all this equity built up. Right? So you're still going to see that burn and churn.
So there's like, I think in the 2013 and 14, Austin was doing really well. You know, they were having not like what's going on right now, but they were appreciating and that was going well. You would turn in an offer and there'd be maybe 2 or 3 other offers, kind of a healthy market, a win for sellers because their homes are appreciating nicely, but also a win for buyers because it wasn't impossible. And so, but to have that space, you have to have about 6,000 homes on the market. And lately we've just had like 1,000, 800, 1,200. So there's just a lot of work to be done.
Yeah. Aaron's saying that people may be underestimating the demand and he's working on getting his next one. Okay. So now we're moving south. You see these 31s in San Marcos, 30% in Kyle.
See that one sneaking down at the bottom
in Lockhart, but creeping over here.
Yes. Look at that.
Do y'all see this?
Yes.
Is that Seguin?
It's
What
right.
is that?
It's New Braunfels, right? And Canyon Lake and stuff.
Canyon
Yeah,
Lake.
that's nuts.
9-8.
I think it's just a really underappreciated. I think it was like just not noticed for the longest time, but it's this perfect, beautiful spot meant to be a vacation town sandwiched between San Antonio and Austin. It's the perfect. My parents live there and it's full of traffic now. So definitely have to check in on making sure that you still want to cram your way in there.
And it's a perfect location if you're also traveling to San Antonio, Austin. I mean, it's kind of like that gateway, between the two, which is really awesome.
I like the rivers over there, like your Schlitterbahn and all that stuff.
Guadalupe, yep.
Aaron brings up a good point. The I-35 corridor, man, that's insane.
Yes, Aaron, you are in tune with what is going on. He's on top of it.
So check this out. Started, you're right. 2012, 200,000. Now it's spiking. Look at that spike. So let's look at the actual data from 2019. In January was about 400,000, which is still, I mean, surprising, all the way up to 1 million, because they have the beautiful lake
here
over there. They have all these, the hill country. You've got easy access to I-35.
Man, someone's buying some acreage houses or something crazy.
Yeah.
This is insanity.
It's like a
But
land grab. That is.
It is a land grab, but remember, these are still single family residential. So I'm wondering how many new build communities were closing their sales in February last month. I think that's
there could also be different data for Central Texas MLS too. They're very active in that space.
Yeah, look. So and Dinosaur D just said that. What the freakonomics? How did it jump from 2 times just in 1 month? And I think that's it. I think it's the amount of larger homes. So maybe there was a developer that was building 1 acre lots.
Ranchettes,
yes. And they were all starting to close in this point. So like a Scott Felder, for example, they probably did that, and we're starting at the 800 mark.
Those rural builders with all that land.
Pushing it up.
Yeah. And they take, Scott Felder is notorious for originally taking like almost a year to build, right? For their longevity. So I could see this happening.
Now everyone's taking a year.
All right. Well, we're past time. Do we have one more central that we can show, and then we gotta hop off?
The percentages aren't as high, but
let's do south. Let's do south, like Zilker or something.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of nuts because I feel like there was
that's still
comment
good.
earlier about 925,000 for
38.
Cedar Park. That's what Central Austin homes are going for. That's nuts. The suburbs have caught up.
38.56. I'm zooming in.
78735.
The southwest space. Give me some map.
So while I'm looking this up, my question to you guys is: do you think it's too late for someone to get into 3.5? If they're seeking appreciation.
Oh,
there's
no, it's not too late for anybody.
It's not too late.
I mean, there's more appreciation than other places.
It's going to be, if you're just going to have to consider your price point, and then it's going to be a waiting game. You're really going to have to spring on the inventory that pops out because those homes just don't have a lot of turnover.
So let's look at our chart. 75 up to just some divine number. So 2019, 582. So almost 600,000, and yeah, easily 1.3 million in that area.
Barton Creek. It's
Barton Creek, right? Yeah, it demands that. There's no question. We have a
the
couple
west
other
side.
comments. Did you see something for -11?
Yeah, so just west of where we were just looking at Barton Creek, there was a negative.
Oh my gosh, it's yellow.
It's yellow. Get out. What is it?
No, I don't think it was
The
that
drag.
way.
Oh, by the college.
Oh, wait.
Because
Yeah,
they're
it
just
is.
doing
That's the
commercial.
campus, right?
That's campus.
Yeah, that's
like-
mostly commercial stuff. You don't have a lot of residential.
No,
So
go over here by the Barton Creek. Look, it's right
Oh,
there.
I see that.
733.
733. It's B Cave, isn't it?
is that B Cave?
No, it's just.
You telling me people were overpricing? You telling me people were overpricing? But
Maybe there were just no sales. I mean,
I actually
Yeah, this is
wonder
a small shot of sales.
here's my theory. I wonder if it was an Open Door or Zillow targeted area.
Ah, that's a good point, Ian.
that's
Yeah, because they
interesting.
jacked up prices.
Yeah.
Interesting.
North of Barton Creek. Interesting.
All right, y'all. Listen, we got to do last minute or last, mentions or rounds. So, JJ, what do you think about this? What we've seen today?
I'm gonna pick my favorite spot to look into by numbers. New brothels. I'm intrigued. I don't do a whole lot of rural stuff, but I know I want land at some point. Maybe now's the time to do it. So,
Dude,
maybe I'll take a look.
2019 was the time to do it. Liberty, what do you think about what we've seen today?
Well, I just looked up 78733, and I think it's what you said, overpricing. 5 million, and it's been sitting on the market for a little
Oh
while.
my gosh.
What?
Wow.
Okay, yeah.
Found the most expensive pocket there. But yes, I mean, it's exciting for you investors. All homeowners are investors. So, hey, down there by New Braunfels, just east of I-35, Seguin, you can get something there that's affordable. So keep your chin up, and like Dinosaur D said, get your money into a property so that you can just watch it rise.
Randy, what are your thoughts on today?
Totally blown away by our last year and a half or two of real estate. This appreciation is nuts. I think it has another 1 to 2 years of going strong just like this. Any homeowner should be over the moon about it, aside from the property tax issue, which is limited, like he said. And then for buyers, you need to find creative ways for financing, homeward options, cash buying, off-market deals, so you don't have to bid and get your spot on the escalator before it takes off.
Zoom out for me, JJ.
I missed.
Also, Randy, thank you for coming on the.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. Oh, I love coming on here.
Zoom out a little more, JJ.
Dinosaur D pointed
Little
out
more,
78730.
A little more.
Yeah.
I keep going. I want to see Marble Falls. This is my message of the day.
I think it went.
This is my Marble Falls to the left.
It's
Left
like
there.
Light
wrinkling.
blue.
Oh,
Left. There. -61. All I'm gonna say is, if you're looking for an investment opportunity right now, boom, there it is. That's it for today, folks. Let me know what you think.
Wow.
Thanks for visiting or for watching the Real Estate Lab podcast, and we will see you again next week.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, guys.